So last time when we talked, I really kind of went after Alien Romulus for not being very good, and for that I don't apologize. I stand by everything I said. I stand by my feelings and my sentiment, and I could go deeper, I could go longer, but I won't. That sounded a little dirty.
Well,
Nevertheless,
I don't want to say it, but
yeah. But this round, we recently lost David Lynch, and like many people, I've just been revisiting some of his films, but specifically one that was new to me because I hadn't seen it. It's not a David Lynch film, but it's a documentary about David Lynch called David Lynch, The Art Life. And it's just about him and his career as an artist, mostly before filmmaking. I mean, it includes interviews with him later in his life, but talking about his early life and his just journey as an artist. I had wanted to see it for a number of years. And then when he passed, I was like, you know what? Let me sit down and knock this one out. And honestly, it was really good. I highly recommend it. And if for no other reason, it will give you a very good, clear context of him as an artist, because it leads right up to the production of Eraserhead. Then, if you go into his filmography with this knowledge, it's like, oh, now I get it because I understand him and his art and his approach to art and his outlook on art. So I know that the Criterion Channel had it available for free because just to celebrate him and his life, they wanted people to know about it. So if you don't have access to it, you can see if the Criterion Channel is still offering it for free to view, because it's definitely worth checking out.
and what's it called?
David Lynch, The Art Life.
Art Life. Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
And then in addition to that, I did check out the Christopher Reeve documentary, Superman, the
Hmm.
Christopher Reeve story. And that was also really, really good, but it's a gut punch.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert.
yeah,
It,
yeah.
it's pretty rough there, as you get to the end. But the thing that I really liked about it was that, of course, I'm a Superman fan. We did an episode of VHS on Superman. We did a podcast on Superman. And I've read his book. And so he died the day before my 21st birthday. And a good friend of mine, the drummer from Rip House, performed CPR on him as he was dying.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's intense.
it's really intense. It's just insane. So it's kind of 6 degrees separation from me to Christopher Reeve. So to see this documentary, like, yeah, I didn't know him, but like I feel like a strong connection to him as a just person on this planet. But what I really liked about the documentary was that even though I know a lot about him and a lot about Superman, I still got something from the documentary. It wasn't superficial. It didn't just kind of gloss over things. It fulfilled my curiosities and gave me something more than I already had going into it, which I can't say for a lot of other documentaries I've seen lately. Um, and it just did a really good job. If you've ever read his book, Still Me, the book kind of goes from like, his accident and then his career and then his accident and then his career. So you get like a chapter of him, like, 1995 and beyond, and then, like early life. And it kind of like builds side by side. And that's sort of what this documentary did as well. So you kind of jump back and forth between these two periods of his life and pre and post accident. So it's really, really well done. I highly recommend that as well. So if you're interested,
I'm definitely interested, but I own that book. I have not. I can't bring myself to read it. I don't know. So it's just like it's sitting downstairs, and it's like
it's really
I
good.
know it is, and it's I've heard it is, and it's I want to read it, but it's like the same thing. I have the Jim Henson biography, and I like I can't bring some things, like some people, like I didn't know them, but they're such a big part of your life for any number of reasons. And so to your point, I just watched the Michael J. Fox documentary still
Mm.
on Apple, and I've read the first three books of his, and it still doesn't prepare you to see him, like, that he's sick and he's battling this thing, but to see him fall down or see him struggle,
Yeah.
or have cuts on his face, it's like, fuck, man. It's like, especially him, for me, it's like, oh, dude, it's like, it hurts my feelings and makes me feel sad, but it's also makes me feel inspired. So the documentary, I knew most about his life and career because I read most of his books so far. I
Mhm.
started the fourth, haven't finished it yet. Um, but it really gives you a look at the person and not so much about the career. So I think even if you know information about Michael J. Fox, I still think it's a really good watch.
Mhm.
Just see what his day to day life is now. Kind of like semi out of the spot. Well, at least out of that spotlight, he's still in the spotlight as far as Parkinson's and raising awareness and money and whatnot. But on the lighter side of things, I'm still doing that thing where I'm watching movies that I've never seen or seen like once and don't really recall. So I watched The January Man, which
Mhm.
I remember seeing it as a kid and thinking it was pretty fucking intense. And I went back and I watched it. It's not as intense, but I enjoyed it. I had a fun time with it, and
Yeah, yeah. For those of you who don't know the January Man, it's like 1988, 89.
yeah, something like that.
It's late 80s. It's Kevin Kline
That's
and Alan Rickman,
yeah,
and that's Alan Rickman's second movie after Die Hard.
yeah. So
And
this
he's
is '89.
playing a totally different character than Hans Gruber. He's like an artist who's,
Yeah,
you know,
eccentric.
yeah, a little flaky, a little eccentric. And Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio.
Yeah, Susan Sarandon, Harvey
Yeah,
Keitel, Danny
yeah,
Aiello, and Rod Steiger. I mean, it's a stacked
yeah.
cast, man.
It's an insane cast, and it's written by what's his face?
What is his face? It was written by John Patrick Shanley,
Yes,
which is
the Bard of the Bronx.
and I've actually performed a number of his works. So I was like, oh, I forgot that he wrote this. So let's check
Yeah,
this out. So I read some of the reviews after I watched the movie, and I'm like,
yeah,
says you.
yeah.
I
Well, didn't
understand what people might not like about it, but I thought it was fun. It was a good time.
that's all it has to be. It just has to. If you were entertained, it did its job. I mean, it's not groundbreaking. It's not profound. I do remember though, it kind of ends abruptly.
A little bit, but
I would have
it's a
liked a
weird
little
ending.
bit. Yeah, I would have liked a little bit more resolution, or just closure.
Yeah, because it's not a complete drama, but it's also not like it just has a little bit of everything. It's kind of a mixed bag, and I think it's where people like what they don't like about it. They feel it's messy, and it's like it's not enough of this and too much of that. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, compared to other movies that came out around that time in the same vein, I don't think it's so bad.
And on my side this week, I watched Conclave by Edward Berger, the latest movie with Ralph Fiennes. The story is the Pope just passed away, and all the cardinals have to meet up to vote for a new Pope, which is the conclave. So I thought it's going to be a movie about Christianity, about Catholicism, and as a Christian, I was curious about it. And actually, it's really not about that. That's the surprising thing. It's a captivating political thriller, I would say. That's how you see the resemblance between religion and politics. It's quite the same, which is not supposed to be, but really it's the same. It's just men talking about the world because they think they know everything about the world, and they decide what's the best for them, actually. So it
Yeah,
was
it
really
tends to
interesting.
happen.
Yeah, and it really talks to everybody, especially right now, because internationally speaking, everything goes I mean, it's about to explode on every side. So it was really interesting to see this movie. You see the traditionals against the modern guys, and they fight for something that they shouldn't fight because they want the same thing at the end. So it talks to everybody. You don't have to think it's not for me because you don't believe in God or whatever. It just the environment, but actually it talks to everyone. And the actors were super super great. I mean, Ralph Fiennes, everybody loves him. We talked about him actually for another movie. I don't know if you remember. It was The Menu. I think that was the title of it. When we talked about it, it was for the Halloween
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, back at the beginning.
Yeah. And every time he does a great performance. Anything he does, he can be a bad guy or a nice guy, because in this movie is the protagonist. And I wouldn't say the good guy, but he has many nuances in his interpretation. So, and that's what we love about actors, when they can be bad and the next minutes they're the good guys.
I love Ralph Fiennes. I have, since I think the first thing I ever saw him in was Quiz Show back in like 1994, which was directed by Robert Redford, and John Turturro is in it, and it's just about the game show scandal that happened in the 1960s, I believe, or 50s. I haven't seen it in a long time, but that was the first time I saw him. And then, yeah, he just pops up, and sometimes he's good and sometimes he's bad. And he's always fantastic. A lot of people know him as Voldemort, and that's fine. No pun intended.
You don't really recognize him.
Yeah, but you do, because the performance is so strong. I love what he did with the character of M in the James Bond films.
Mm-hmm.
But really, if you want to see a good Ralph Fiennes performance, check out In Bruges with Colin Farrell.
Okay.